Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. My name is Leonard Brackett. I'm one of the panelists on tonight's Belizean Affairs show number 230. 230. We're grateful for the privilege to be back with you tonight. We hope that whatever we bring to the program would be of some public benefit, and I hope that you'll derive some purpose from it as well. Currently, our chairman for the night is somewhere in the background working on something else that he apparently will present to us. So, in the interest of time, I'll go ahead and do some of the preliminaries, such as, for example, our prayer, and then followed by our short scripture reading. And hopefully by then the chairman should be available to us. I'll just ask that you indulge me in bowing my head and saying a short prayer. Divine loving Father, once again we come before thy presence. Thou who art the creator of heaven and earth and all that in them are, into thy hand we commend ourselves, asking that thou would continue to have mercy upon us, that thou would continue to bless us, that thou would continue to bless and take care of our family members, friends, and loved ones, wherever they are. Do not them by name and number. Please continue to be merciful unto our country of Belize, its people and leadership. And please continue to be merciful unto this country of the United States of America, its people and leadership as well, as the rest of humanity. We pray that thou mayest continue to help us to get a reprieve from these wars and mayhem, killing, and devastation. We pray that thou mayest bring humanity to heal. Thou knowest that it's all happening because of materialism, and that materialism was the beginning of the treachery at the Garden of Eden and continues as of today. But because of thy mercies, we're able to endure and have made it this far. Please continue to bless us all, for us these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. Again, I wish to express my gratitude to those of you who will be listening to us tonight, as well as those who will listen to us at your own convenience sometime thereafter. The chairman is not available yet, so I'll proceed with the reading. Just a second. Okay. I'll read Psalms number 119, starting at verse 1. Blessed are the undefiled in the ways, who walk in the law of the Lord. Blessed are they that keep his testimonies and that seek him with the whole heart. They also do no iniquity. They walk in his ways. Amen. That is our reading for tonight. And I'll take the liberty of starting out tonight's program. Let me see. I need to go back. I need to go back a little bit. Just be patient with me for a second. Okay. Today, I had the occasion to write another one of those commentaries slash text or essays that relate to the issues of our country, dealing with some Belizean affairs. I would like to do a little reading until the chairman is available, so let me proceed with that. In this particular commentary, which was made by Leonard, Brackett being myself, regarding Belizean constitution violations by Belize government slash immigration department by implementation of unconstitutional and bogus policies of state. I titled this one Belize Constitution Violation, Bastardization by Treacherous and Treasonous Leaders, referencing Guatemalan Belizean Nationality slash Citizenship Awards. That is to say, no previous government in our country had been so barefaced and so daring as to deliberately transgress our constitution in such dastardly way as this present government that we have, all because they feel like they're untouchable and they're beyond. Let me not go there. Let me just continue reading the subject. I may have an additional opportunity to get into the ranting part, so let me just continue. Just in case the chairman shows up and I got to give up the subject, I would have gotten as far as I could with it. I, Leonard Brackett, proceeded to cite Section 29 of the Constitution of Belize, subsection 3. And I said that the Constitution of Belize prohibits implementation of any such policies of state to be considered as an anti-Belizean and anti-constitutional, as well as null and void bastardization of Belize's constitution. I went on to cite Belize Constitution Cap 4, Part 3, Section 29, Subsection 3, which reads as follows. No person shall be entitled under the provision of this part to be a citizen of Belize or be granted citizenship of Belize if such person shows an allegiance to or is a citizen of a country which does not recognize the independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Belize. That is what the Constitution states. But these jackals, hyenas, and vultures, as I have always called them, and probably need to come up with some other descriptive term to more adequately portray their treachery and treasonous conduct. I went on to say, here's a part of the PUP agenda, referring then to the Prime Minister of Belize. He is, as part of PUP agenda, Belize propagated new identity by traitors from within. Leonard Brackett went on to say, Mr. Shine and his father and his uncle and his granduncle all have been aware of Belize's mortal predicament. It is the mantle that I carry. Mr. Price was in on the gig, I went on to say. He gave Mr. Schumann, Assad Schumann, plenipotentiate ambassadorship to negotiate and then feign ignorance when the people cried foul as regards to his conduct relating to those matters. Specifically on the matter of the 1981 Heads of Agreement. I went on to say, Belize is heading down a crisis path, and Belizeans are docile and asleep at the wheel as Belize's treacherous and treasonous leaders continue to facilitate Guatemalans in our country. There was a list of particular farms for Guatemalan citizens to acquire Belizean citizenship, nationality, and to share in the bounty of Belizean patrimony by getting identity, by getting social security numbers, by getting passport, by using those documents to get medical assistance, which the Belizean people don't get for themselves. They also get facilitated to acquire lands for farms, which are not being given to average Belizeans. They get house and they get lots, which are not easily facilitated to Belizean as much as easily as it is facilitated to them under the migrant programs now. All for a few extra dollars. That is to say, selling out our patrimony to the international migrant community. We have spoken about these issues quite a bit before, and I would have liked to go into it a little bit deeper. I do not see any of our other panelists on board yet, so I'll take the liberty of continuing on this particular trajectory. Our Prime Minister came to us in the past and told us that he had instructed the CIB to depend on international I forget the name of the organization, but to depend on international support to acquire or use as a means to justify our CIB and investigators not having to spend too much time checking out the validity of people who were claiming migratory status in our country. He himself directed that these people should be facilitated and no thorough investigation should be done in regards to facilitating them to get their documentations. I don't understand what is the purpose of facilitating without due care or without proper investigation. When this matter of giving nationality to certain people who Our constitution says we're not supposed to give them nationality because they do not recognize our country and they do not abide by and they threaten our sovereignty and they hold allegiance to countries who are hostile to us. And we are supposed to give them nationality in such large volumes as to allow them to outvote the local population and be able to take over the country without firing a bullet, because they have it in their constitution that Belize belongs to them. Belize es nuestro y lo conseguiremos por la razón o por la fuerza. That is to say, Belize is theirs and they will get it by reason or by force. So our ministers are acknowledging to the Guatemalans that we don't have enough bullets to fight for more than an hour, but there's no need for them to fight us or to shoot one bullet, because instead our ministers and ministry and our government is bending over backwards to facilitate them coming in, outnumbering the local population, and then taking over our patrimony. If that is not treason, treachery at the highest level, I don't know what is. And that is not the only thing that they have been doing. I see the chairman is available, so I'll just stop my rant and turn the program over to him. He's duly entitled to pick his subject that he wants to speak on as regards to the chairmanship position. So I'll just yield, Mr. Chairman.
Good night to you, Mr. Brackett.
Good night, sir.
Good night to the people at home and abroad. I thank you for tuning in to this 230th edition of Belizean Affairs. Tonight's program, I want to specifically deal with an issue of national security that has been plaguing our country with past and present government. And I believe that the Belizean people who are becoming minorities in our own country is not steadfast as the vanguard of Belize and what it stands for. Let me go to the first tip.
This is your Belize Constitution, Chapter 4, as in force on March 1st, 2012. Your Belize Constitution is your supreme law. Supreme law means there is no other law above it. But the PUP and UDP lawyers have enjoyed a loophole for 36 years to override the supreme law in many instances, such as the granting of citizenship to enemies of this nation. Let's take a look at our Constitution. Part 3, Citizenship, Section 29(3) reads, "No person shall be entitled under the provisions of this part to be a citizen of Belize or be granted citizenship of Belize if such person shows any allegiance to or is a citizen of a country which does not recognize the independence, sovereignty, or territorial integrity of Belize, provided," and here is the important part, Belizeans, "that the minister may, in his discretion, grant Belizean citizenship to persons falling under this subsection who would otherwise be entitled to such citizenship under the provisions of Section 23 and 25 of this Constitution, until this illegal claim by Guatemala against Belize is dropped, or elected officials should be upholding our supreme law. Granting citizenship contrary to our supreme law or Constitution and jeopardizing our sovereignty and very existence as a nation and as a people should be considered treason."
Mr. Brackett, and people at home and abroad. Quite a majority of our Belizean who is now living abroad, and some that is still here in Belize, know what happened when we had the present party who is in government back in 1981 that was seeking independence, tried to do to the Belizean people with the heads of agreement. Ever since then, it has been a up and down scenario with incursion into Belizean territory by Guatemala. I find that because of these incursions and the way our past and present government has handled the policy when it comes to dealing with Guatemala, we have always been violated not only by the Guatemalans, but also by the present and past government who took an oath to our Constitution to protect us from incursion and to obey our Constitution and what it stands for. I now go to a tape so as to enlighten the people at home and abroad and what is happening in Belize when it comes to the Guatemalan crisis, as we find ourselves in this same scenario with past and present government who does not has the answer or is failing with external and internal and domestic issues. They have failed to accomplish or achieve any agenda to deal with the Guatemalan crisis. Back in March of this year, we had open amnesty through our present government, but yet I find that amnesty has passed and the present government is still facilitating along with different entity including the police department, Guatemalans or native of Guatemalans to try and get them to become citizens of Belize. Let me go to the first step.
This is your belief.
These 11,000 that have applied, it doesn't mean that they are left. They're in the process that we're working on. Actually, we have sped up the process right now. When we made certain changes and in the checking of the security clearance, because the way it was set up first, our personal special branch had to go to each individual house or person to visit them where they live, and that process had taken more than 4 years. So what we're doing through Interpol, and I think there is another group from out of I'm trying to remember, but set up from El Salvador to see if you belong to any gang or anything like that. So we're going to be going through that, and I think we're looking at kids that will automatically give it to them. They're just little kids and older people. So that's that. I can get you the latest numbers, but the numbers have increased considerably.
Is there trouble printing the cards, sir? Because we understand that. Is there trouble printing the cards? Because we understand that there may have been trouble with the machine to print these cards.
No, not that I'm aware of. We had a small ceremony the other day where we printed. Yeah, well. But no, there were more than 12, more than 7 were invited, but only 7 were showed up. And then there was one family that showed up, and a little funny because they don't understand the language. They said that once they're given the card, that they were giving them, dummy cards. But it was just for the inauguration, and just for the ceremony, and we're telling them, you need to give it back. And they said, no, because...
Mr. Brackett, I go to you first, sir. Amnesty has passed. we listen to what the Prime Minister said. In his speech, the Prime Minister mentioned only about Salvadorians. But we will find during this show that it goes beyond only Salvadorian, and our present government is in violation of our constitution, which bars any citizen of Guatemala from becoming a citizen of Belize. I go to you, sir.
Uh, I'll just go ahead and read again, not necessarily for the hell of it, but for emphasis more than anything else. Belize Constitution, Cap 4, Part 3, Section 29, Subsection 3. No person shall be entitled under the provisions of this part to be a citizen of Belize or be granted. I don't know if the Prime Minister is aware of that or he doesn't give a damn, as in regards to other parts of our Constitution. They just go ahead and violate it anyhow because nobody's going to hold them to account. Our commissioner is not going to go and arrest them, and nobody's going to, the DPP or the Solicitor General or any other person inside of the government is not going to take them to court and or have them suffer any consequences for their misconduct. So they go ahead and violate our Constitution, and they go ahead and operate with these foreign entities to help them subvert our system and to get our patrimony to be turned over to other people of their preference, because they're anti-Belizeans, they hate Belizeans and what Belizeans or Belize stands for currently, and they're trying very hard to provide us with a new identity, which is to say, flood out the whole Belizean country with all the migrant people them coming from Central, South America and all over, and specifically more in regards to the Guatemalans them, to violate our Constitution willy-nilly. And they come and do it barefacedly, right in our face, and tell us that that's what they're doing. In fact, the Prime Minister, as I said before and was played on the tape, says that he has authorized the investigators them to stop their investigation the way they were doing it before because it's taking too much time. He wants to give these people ready-made citizenship, and he's already granting it to the minors, as he said in his own words. Who the hell does he think he really is in regards to... Let me finish reading this thing, and then I could read a specific part that I would have liked to read, Mr. Chairman. Just let me finish reading. It's just a few more words left. No person shall be entitled under the provisions of this part to be a citizen of Belize or be granted citizenship of Belize if such person shows an allegiance to or is a citizen of a country which does not recognizes the independence and sovereignty or territorial integrity of Belize. I'm sorry, I need to change this quickly and go to the Constitution itself. I need to read, here it is, I got it. Okay. Section 2. Just bear me a second, Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to take too long, sir. Okay, that's the preamble. This is the part I want to read. I got it. The Constitution is the supreme law of Belize. I'm going to read it as is stated by the Constitution itself, under Section 2, subsection 1. This Constitution is the supreme law of Belize. And if any other law, that is to say, laws that are made by the House of Representatives, which is to say substantive laws of the country, if any other law is inconsistent with this Constitution, that other law shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. So where the hell does this jackal of a prime minister feels that because he's granted the privilege and the title of prime ministership, that he has any power or authority above the supreme law of our land, which is our Constitution, for him to abrogate, bastardize, violate, willfully, knowingly, deliberately, the Constitution to which he swore allegiance when he wanted to become prime minister. He went to the Governor General and swore allegiance to the very Constitution that he turned around now and is trashing. What the hell is wrong with this idiot? You see that much power drunk to the point that he is going to abrogate our Constitution? And what is wrong with the people? That they don't even know those basic things and are apparently quite unconcerned that that is happening. That their patrimony is being dispossessed of them for someone else to take over, just in order for the current prime minister and his cabal of mobsters who, under Secrecy Act in cabinet, conspire to do these evil deeds. And we're supposed to respect them? Take a hike. There's much more to come. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome, sir.
Recently, people at home and abroad, I know that some of you that listen to House meeting can recall the Prime Minister going there and changing the way families of Belizean living abroad in the United States become citizenship through descent.
Yep.
But I'm bringing this up to say to you that as vanguards of our Constitution and our country, we must be steadfast. I want to go to a tape of an incident that happened when an incursion took place in our territory by Guatemalans. And I want you to hear what Mr. Stuart Leslie had to say about it. In fact, this individual, who is a native of Belize, I think has been very disrespectful when he had the audacity to speak about the Guatemalans allowed the Belizean to do what they wanted to do. Let's hear the tape.
Every Belizean should be allowed the right to go to any part of this country. And so let's start by that. This is something that I think the territorial volunteers have been doing for some years now, and each time they go there, we have some kind of encounter, some kind of run-in with the Guatemalan authorities. I was pleased to read on Channel 5 News that what the Guatemalans allowed them to go on the island to do what they did, to do their thing, to sing the national anthem, and later they collected the flags and returned it back to us. Whether a protest note was delivered to the Guatemalans by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I'm not aware. I can try to find out and get back to you. I can ask Minister Courtney or COMI. But I felt that they were given the opportunity to exercise their right to go out there and demonstrate their patriotism in their way without having any serious encounters with the Guatemalans. But this is why we need to put an end to this problem. This is why we need to get this decision from the ICJ so that we can have all our borders clearly defined by the international community so that nobody can dispute, no country, no person can dispute this, and we can fix this and move on with our lives living side by side with our neighbor.
Mr. Chairman, may I take a shot?
Go ahead, sir.
This I was going to call this jackal or gentleman. I shouldn't even put those two words together. This person that you just showed, Mr. Stuart Leslie, he is the cabinet secretary, or he's the secretary for the cabinet of our country. Not only that, he is also occupying the second most highest position by virtue of being delegated as the Deputy Governor General of our country. And this jackass is not going to even know that from 1981 we became independent with the majority of the people in the world affirming our independence and our rights to the territorial integrity that we currently had, still supposed to have, but for the exception of the Sarstuna Island, which the Guatemalans now have in their possession. And this man is going to say that the Guatemalans, he was happy that the Guatemalans allow some of we Belize people to go to Belizean lands to sing their national anthem and to raise their flag, and then turn around and take away the flags them afterwards. And he is going to say, according to him, he does not understand or know enough to realize that those Belizeans should have been within their own rights and should not be impugned for going there. Why is he occupying those positions if he doesn't know enough to be able to speak adequately to the issue and forthrightly, with fortitude, to the issue, instead of being a damn apologist for the Guatemalan who are aggressing us? That's the kind of leadership we entertain and countenance in our country. And that's the kind of leadership that the majority of the people are voting for. I want to say other things, Mr. Chairman, but I think I need to back down a little bit and just yield back, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. But it goes beyond Mr. Stuart Leslie. I played the tape so that the Belizean people at home and abroad can understand what is happening in our country. Because the Guatemalans are not only doing incursion in our country, they are not only coming over the border in our country, they are being allowed by our government and police department. Because we are having a crisis with them, and our constitution bars them from becoming a citizen. But yet our government and police department is facilitating this right underneath the eyes of the people.
The Prime Minister himself was caught on a tape offering money to bring those people across the border, and offering T-shirts and offering manifestos to bring 15,000 of those people to participate in a free election in the Cayo area. Does Belizean forget about that? Or they don't care? They're indifferent. If that is not treachery or high treason, not only just treason, high treason, then I don't know what is. I yield back, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm about to play a tape, and people at home and abroad, I want you to listen to this tape and look specifically at the police records that was being issued. And on these records, you will plainly see it says native of Guatemala. Let's hear the tape.
I want to ask about the official complicity of the department in facilitating the movement and the regularization of illegal migrants into Belize. I have here a number of police records which were presented at the station that night in Dangriga. These are police records for persons who've only been in the country 6 weeks and have no formal status, didn't even have any documents. Someone showed up at the Dangrega police station with records, police records, are 4 of them. I want to stress that these are regular police records. We know, I have investigated this, and I know that when a migrant or someone without permanent status in Belize applies for a police record, they get a special record. That's a different kind of record. But these people had regular records from the Criminal Records Office, and even many of them without their passport number. This suggests to me that the police department at a high level is facilitating the regularization of illegal immigrants. Second, it may be facilitating persons whose labor is being exploited. This becomes an issue going into amnesty. Because if you are going into amnesty and you have a police record, somehow you get a regular police record, then you are halfway, your foot is halfway in the door, even though you only arrived here 6 weeks ago.
I do not associate myself with your comments, and somehow I believe that you are being misled or being used to create mischief.
People at home and abroad, I stopped the tape because I do believe that the commissioner is in denial. The commissioner is a learned man who had studied law, and I'm quite sure that the commissioner has read the Belizean Constitution, the supreme law of the land, and he knows exactly what it says when it comes to Guatemalan obtaining citizen in Belize. I go to you, Mr.
The commissioner
Brackett.
is implying, Mr. Chairman, it appears that the commissioner is implying that the Guatemalans somehow must be doing those things for themselves and by themselves. Because the police department apparently knows nothing about that under his leadership, and he ought not to be questioned about it. Otherwise, such questioning amounts to mischief making, according to him. In other words, when they are caught red-handedly and are being put on the spot, they deny, obfuscate, lie, and turn around and accuse the people who are the victims of them being the ones who are mischief making. It's crazy. The Prime Minister can look on our face and tell us that it's all in our head. That's the level of respect and consideration or decency or ethics or morals that these jackals foster. And we're supposed to just sit by, all of us, and accept it? No, I won't. There's enough people that vote for them and give them the powers of governance to carry on these type of rackets. But I'm one, as an exception. And I know that there are many others like myself who, when they get to find out these facts, are not too pleased with what's going on. But these guys, they suborn whoever they need to, whenever they need to, commit crimes under the color of law, and keep moving on. And even when they're being caught, they try to deflect, divert, and lie. They're a bunch of connivers. And when you tell them so, they feel offended. Oh no, you're not supposed to speak to me that kind of way. I'm going to go to the house and I'm going to make a law to say that so long as you speak to me that kind of way and you offend me, I can sue you, or I can claim that you're libeling me, or I can claim that you're you know, and these fools, they go and make these bogus laws that violates our constitution and violate the rights of the people. But they don't make the laws that holds them accountable. They went just last week to the House and make another law stipulating that if they want to sue somebody, or anybody wants to sue somebody else, and that person cannot be found, or they don't know where they live or where they are or what, they could just take out the suit serve it at the last place that the person was known to have lived or have any connections with. And if that person is not available or cannot respond to that case, then that case can be called on the docket and ruled against that person in absentia. And I can tell you specifically, one of those objectives is to target people like myself. They can't reach me, even though I make myself available to them. I just come off of a 3-month trip there among them. And they didn't have the balls to do what they were promising that they was going to do. Neither Mr. Musa, the old gentleman, or any of the present jackals. Because they know we're part weak fence there. Then keep telling the teachers that there will be consequences to the teachers' behavior for not aiding and abetting with the Guatemalan agenda. And when I tell them that there's going to be consequences to their conduct as well, they want to consider that a threat. So now they want to go and make laws to classify me as a criminal and or to rule against me in my absence without knowing that they have an interest, because even when they have an interest in making a suit against somebody, it is not because they want that person to know that they're suing them or to make that person really have a defense to the suit. They talk about mischief making. That is what they're trying to do, create mischief. They take our money, our treasury, and use it for all kind of shenanigans. They go and make these bogus laws, and then when the laws are being ruled against, then they get hot under the collar and pretend that, well, you know, they want to eviscerate the whole Constitution because there are some laws in this current Constitution that's barring them from committing the crimes under the color of law that they would like to commit. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. But it all has to do with the bastardization of the Belizean Constitution. They refuse to fully implement UNCAC, which I believe that UNCAC should have been implemented even before we go to the ICJ, because corruption is alive and living well. As anyone can see, we do not have an audit general. 4 years going into 5 years, the present government has not fulfilled its mandate per elected by the people to transparency. So
No intentions.
we have no audit general, and we can see where election is coming and the taxpayers' money is being lavishly used. Anyone who is looking at what is happening should not be surprised, because the present government is bent on winning this election to fulfill the agenda of the late Right Honorable Judge Cadle Price, who
Mr.
in
Chairman?
1981 wanted an independent Belize without support from the Commonwealth. I go to you, Mr. Brackett.
Yes, sir. These gentlemen, they want to have the country go into what you call a Republic of Belize. Okay? But to get there, they have to commit sedition. Or somebody have to commit sedition on their behalf. They're not telling the people what is it that you're trying to get done with the evisceration of the current Constitution in lieu of something that nobody else, as of today date, know other than by speculation and by inference based on their behavior. The bottom line is that most Belizeans, even despite the fact that we have spent so much time trying to educate them on the Constitution. And the so-called PCC has spent millions of dollars without doing a proper education campaign. Now they want to trap the people into letting them decide what they should put in or take out of their Constitution when the people doesn't even know what's in there so far. It's just a sham. And now they're using the Treasury to give back GST, or at least not to necessarily give back, but not to collect the GST from the merchants and let the merchants be able to continue playing games as we have been telling them the merchants have been doing. That is to say, the GST funds are not going into the consolidated funds. Therefore, the government doesn't have the budget to be able to meet its obligation and keep having to borrow and keep falling short every time when they go to the house to get money, to get additional money. Every time they go to the houses for extra money. It looks like they never go to the house without a money bill in their pocket. And now they're going to turn around because the election is going to be called apparently very soon. They're going to turn around now and give up the taxes that they're supposed to be collecting. How come they're so smart now that they couldn't figure out that they could have reduced that tax 1% or 2%? They have to give up the whole thing now, and they don't have the funds to pay the wage bill. They can't pay the people that are retired, people who have spent their life working and have retired and need their money now to be able to live off of. They can't give the people their money. It's electioneering that's going on. They're cheating with Treasury again. Then they turn around and give the different ministers them money to campaign with. Then get one government vehicle to run around with. Then get one fuel order book. Then even try to reduce the price of fuel. When they ask Mr. Prime Minister about reducing the price of fuel, which would have been the best thing to do if he was serious about trying to help reduce the inflation in the country. But the reason why he doesn't reduce the gas and fuel costs is because he has multiple gas stations from which if he reduces that price for the gas, he's going to take less. So he prefers the whole country goes under a state of economic duress in order for him to collect a few extra dollars. Because everybody in the chain, when it comes to moving goods around the country, have to pay that higher bill for the gas. Therefore, everything has to go up a little bit. And the price that goes up is not just to recover what they spend on the gas. They also add additional profit. So it's just a big scam. Then he's going to say, well, the money that he's taking from those things is what he's using to help the country. When in fact, he's giving all these multi-million dollars breaks to big corporations, and then he's squeezing the poor people, and we are supposed to just sit by and suck with finger. Are you back, Mr. Chairman? It's just maddening, man. Just crazy.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome, sir.
But as previously mentioned, past and present government has failed to implement the full UNCAC. And we cannot move forward when corruption is alive and living well, especially when it is in our government departments that things like these are happening. Let's go to the tape.
Understand that the sale of birth certificates from Vital Statistics Unit has become prevalent again.
Oh my.
I understand that 3 Americans got Belizean passports within 24 hours. As a matter of fact, they got a birth certificate, a social security card, and a passport within 24 hours.
What, another Mason?
Yes. And I understand that each birth certificate was sold at 5,000 US each.
Oh my.
And they were only able to flag 1. The other 2 Americans got away with it. The 3rd American, however, somebody at Social Security picked up on the birth certificate being fake, right? And they called the police. And the police came and arrested the American national. They took a statement from the American national and then deported the American national or sent him back home. So that begs the question, where is the...
Now imagine, they took a statement from him and deported him, and you know why?
Silence the case.
Exactly. Not to have implementation of who is involved and what happened. Now, let's go to a second scenario.
It's something that we have to look at very, very carefully. And I heard the comments on the beef this morning, alluding to it being an immigration scandal. If a matter of fact, I've heard that narrative for quite some time. But I can say that from a police investigation standpoint, that issue has nothing to do with immigration. It so happens that it's an individual who happened to had in his possession some Asian passports, Asian national passports, and within those passports contained some Belize visas. He also had with him some immigration stamps. We have done our investigation, and it has been confirmed by the Department of Immigration that the visas in those passports are not authentic. The stamps are not authentic either. They're a replica of what immigration had. So it would appear as if this was an individual who was operating on his own. We have not unearthed any ties to anybody from immigration colluding with him. I can say that I had briefed the Prime Minister on this issue when it first occurred. And the Prime Minister's exact words was, "Commissioner, please pursue the investigation to the fullest and go after who you need to go after." And the police is operating under that instructions from the Prime Minister. And we have not been able to find any link to immigration. It's just a person who was on his own accord.
People at home and abroad, I needed to stop the tape there. Because while the incident that took place might not be an immigration scandal, there is a national scandal, in my belief, between the Prime Minister and the police department, who is facilitating police record to native Guatemalans. And it goes beyond that. We have a crisis that is a national scandal that is violating what our Constitution stands for, when we have a government that, if you go to their website and you read what it says under Citizen for Dissent, you will see that the government is facilitating to the Guatemalans to become citizens of Belize. And I don't want you to just hear this coming from me, because here on Belizean Affairs, we show and tell. And some of you at home and abroad might not be able to go to the website, but here it is. I have video it so that you can see it.
Please
I did this, people of Belize at home and abroad, to let you understand that the national security of this country lies within your hand. And if we have a present government with a prime minister who is not performing to the capacity of the people and the national security, he can be recalled via a referendum for no confidence. And I want you, the people at home and abroad, to understand. Most people believe that because we don't have a strong opposition that we cannot hold our government accountable. But our constitution is what protects our democracy. And per our constitution, we have a right to recall him via a referendum for these unconstitutional act. I go to you, Mr. Brackett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. That is a very salient point that a lot of people appear not to be aware of or knowledgeable about or have any interest in pursuing. But we have the remedy. To every crime, there's a remedy. To every breach of the Constitution, there's a remedy. We have Section 20. We also have other sections of the law that mandates what the government can do and cannot do while remaining legal. Of course, there are government officials and departments and even ministers who commit crime under the color of law. They operate as a rogue cabal. They are not interested in what the Constitution says or what the rules or expectations are. They just want to bullyrag the process and do as they wish and to hell with the outcome, so long as they can get what they want out of the process. And then they turn around and they complain when we point out to them their shortcomings and their nefariousness, their evil ways, I would venture to say. Because the way these guys or these people are operating amounts to evil, nothing less. The Belizean public and Belizean people have done them nothing to deserve for them to use our own powers against us. But yet they do. They seem to get some kind of a pleasure out of doing so. I wonder if when they sit down in a cabinet, as they say, in secrecy, if whether or not they must just drink their tequila or drink their beer or drink their rum or whatever, liquor or smoke their cigarettes or cigars or whatever is it that they smoke or drink. It seems to me more like they're having a party. They're enjoying their criminal conduct and their misbehavior. Every time they go to the House of a representative to make a law, it's never about making themselves accountable, as they promised before they got elected, or about doing anything that accrues to the welfare and benefit of the Belizean people. They give these laws fancy names and put certain words in the laws, but when they put it in practice, it always derogates from people's rights and the well-being of people. And they are never caught up into it. In fact, even when they are caught up into it, they find ways to wiggle out of it and excuse each other from major crimes. Why? They are the exception to the laws. The laws are made by a privileged few for the welfare and the benefit of that privileged few, and not for me and you. That is the real scenario. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. But
You're welcome,
as
sir.
you rightfully said, and we and Belizean Affairs have been pointing out the agenda of the present government from day one. Everything that we have spoken about and this media has come to pass exactly as we said it would happen. We have pointed out some cases that we knew the government would lose, as well as other things that the government had in mind to do as a form of political blunder and as a new way of what I call buying
Political
votes.
financing.
You know? But let's go to this tape.
It's important to understand that this is a targeted initiative because it's, we're always talking about cost of living, we're talking about the effects of inflation. We know that inflation is something that we import, just like how we import goods, we import inflation.
Yes.
And this government has taken the initiative to have targeted relief efforts for the consumers, for Belizean citizens. You saw the Prime Minister announce at the State of the Nation address, he announced the increase on the threshold in the income tax. He announced that the mortgages of $100,000 and less, there would be no stamp duty on those. Those are targeted relief efforts to combat the cost of living. This is another targeted initiative. Why? Because most of the persons who are, in different brackets, they have already bought their goods. They have their freights coming in. They have everything. They bought it on Amazon, whatever it is. This won't be covered by that. What this will cover are those Belizeans getting paid this week, as you said, April, because this week is payday week. That will be able to go to the stores this weekend and have a discount.
Right.
We're looking at, and this discount is important to understand that this 12.5% relief is in addition to whatever other discount the stores are offering. So if the store is already offering a 10% discount, this is a 12.5% on top of that. So you're looking at a 22.5% discount this weekend. And from the data that the tax services department has, normally on a regular weekend, the tax collected in GST is around 1.5 to 2 million. Around this time of year, Christmas time, demand is higher. It's more closer to 2.5 million. So you're looking at $5 million between the two weekends that government or the tax department really is putting into the pockets of the Belizean citizens.
Now, people at home and abroad, if you listen to what this gentleman had just said, it's amazing when you have a government in power. The Belizean people has been suffering for a long time, ever since COVID, and prices keep going up, fuel prices keep going up. And as we see a general election coming, if you listen to these ministers speak the narrative that I have always spoken about, they all get together and they discuss the narrative that they are going to be pushing to the people. You heard what this young man said about inflation. You have seen the commercial about inflation. It's a political blunder. And they keep pushing this narrative to make it seem as though the government is doing so good and is looking out for its people, when in reality,
You're punishing the
it
people.
is no such thing. And we need to call them out. When a government is doing good, we will say so. When a government is not acting or representing its people, we need to mention it. Now, how dare this government would be advertising and speaking about giving back to the people. This same government who refused to call a state of emergency for the people in the rural area who is suffering from the flood, who will not see a Christmas, who have lost their amusement in the farming industry, in cattle. What have the government done for them?
They declare an emergency in the Prime Minister's division so that they could get resources to help his campaign.
But I'm saying this to say it's a political blunder being pushed out there with each and every one of them knowing the narrative. Because we hear nobody speak about what the government has done for the people in the rural that is suffering from the flood. They know exactly how to use the platform to address their own equity, as in tax breaks, giving small farmers tax break. Now, what can the small farmers do now that the flood is taking place? So, in reality, who was those tax break for?
Themselves.
You know, I go to you,
Themselves
Mr.
and their
Brackett.
cronies. Those tax breaks were for themselves and their cronies. Because the small cattle ranchers were not taking any cattle across the border illegally before. It was always organized by certain individuals that were well known, who declared that they were actually trying to legitimize the operation, but no funds went into the government coffers as a result of legitimizing the contraband cattle ranching either, because they got special breaks so that they didn't have to pay certain taxes. They got special breaks so they didn't have to pay a certain customs duty. All those monies accrued to them. And who were some of these big cattle ranchers? The Mennonites, or Prime Minister, one of the big cattle ranchers in our country. Another one, our Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Mai, who is another cattle rancher. And all these guys are doing is looking after their own interests. So they go and they make these onerous laws that the small farmers derive no benefit from, but they, as the real movers and shakers of the industry, derive the benefits. In addition to the fact that they take so much lands, crown lands, that could have been given to other people who need a little helping hand. They got cattle ranching all over the country that they're involved with. They're even involved with cattle ranching all the way to Halakte. They're working hand in hand with some of the other cattle ranchers from across the other side of the border to let their cattle come and feed in on our ranches over this side. And they do nothing about it. Why? They want to maintain a good relationship with the people over the other side. That's all they're interested in doing when they get the powers, not to work on behalf of the country and betterment of the country. It's to work on behalf of themselves and betterment of themselves, their friends and cronies. And yet the people take their little $5, $50 with a little plate of food and a couple beer and go and vote for these idiots while they're suffering for another 5 years. It baffles me. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome, sir.
But I have to say this. I believe that nobody has said it better than the Honorable Julius Espat when he stand in the House and he spoke about exactly what is happening to the local regular people in Belize. And with all these narrative that is being pushed by the present government and political blunder as though they are doing so much for the people of Belize since they get into power, I want to replay the tape so that the people at home and abroad can hear what was said by Mr. Espat, because in reality, after this show is over, it will go back to being this same scenario.
I believe, and I am so happy that the member from Queen Square believes that we have not, and I don't want to say this, I want to say it, but I never want to say it, but I have to say it. Yeah, hurt my heart to say it. Yeah, hurt my heart. But I agree with him, because the only thing positive he said yesterday that you want a little more budget for the housing, right, my brother? So, I tell you because I have to know because I want. But I agree with you. We should lobby the Ministry of Finance that we receive more funds to be able to help the people get shelter over their heads. If we don't do that, Madam Speaker, the haves will be happy. And they do not believe that the have-nots should get. Right or wrong? They lobby, make them go to the bank, go borrow the money. But they don't say it when I'm wrong. Because when I'm wrong, I'm telling them, but how they go in a bank, go get the money? They not got no job, they're not single mothers, they struggle, they not got opportunity in life, they're single fathers, some of them are disabled. You are setting them up to fail. So, you know, they come with a briefcase and say, oh, you can go to the bank. Yeah, you could go to the bank. But the people that we help cannot go to the bank. And so it is our job. And many members here believe in it. I am the only one that voices it often. We need more budget for the housing.
Rightfully and truthfully said by Mr. Espat, the present government is setting up the people of Belize when they are giving out all these handouts through GST and other concession like talking about stamp duty and all that stuff. I go to you, Mr. Brackett.
But it's all a political blunder, like you say. Well, let me take away the phrase blunder, the word blunder. It's all a political shenanigan. Or let me take the word shenanigan away as well. It's all a political financing, which is the fact. I yield back, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
Oh,
well said. But I will stick with what I have mentioned. The telltale signs of this has been coming for a long time. Because when I called them out about the concession,
couple weeks
that
ago.
right,
couple weeks
and
ago.
I said, if the people does not get this before election, after election they will not get it. You see what happened? The commercials start flying left and right. All of a sudden, the machine start rolling, the wheels start turning, and all this has come to pass. Now imagine. And I am sure if people want to go back a couple weeks and listen to your tape, they will find it right in there. Again, I go to you, Mr. Brackett.
I would add to what you just said, Mr. Chairman, by saying that they can go back to just about any one of our programs, the last 229 programs, inclusive this one, and they will find many of the things that you alluded to earlier, or you spoke about earlier when you said, we have spoken to these matters, we have pressured the government to deal with these matters, they dealt with some of it, and other parts of it, they play the fool on, but it comes back to bite them in the butt. And at the end of the day, it's free advice that they have been getting, and sometimes they take it and run with it, and sometimes they hide their hands and pretend like, well, they're not aware of what's going on. But why would they come in the very beginning when the administration started 4 years ago and turn around and took away the pantry from the people who were under duress at the time, who really needed the real public help, who really needed that little extra money that was being borrowed from the bank to finance the government's affairs? Why did they go ahead and take that away? Was that not an immoral move? Could they not have recognized that those people were suffering, and by taking away the little bit that they were getting, they would suffer more? They didn't give a damn. They didn't care. They're power drunk. They came in on a high. They won with such a large majority that they forgot that it's the very same people that gave them that large majority needed them to work on their behalf, which is why they gave them the majority. But again, that's politics. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome, sir.
I hope that our people at home and abroad will take the time out and to really study the ploys of past and present government and how they use manipulations to try to conquer you. Not to forget that we are living in a designer system designed to keep the low class people down. As you can see, the people in Belize that perish the most is the one in the south side Belize, where the government look at some of them as difference in violation of our constitution, which specify that every citizen of Belize should have the equal protection of the law.
Section 6 of our Constitution, Mr. Chairman.
That is correct.
And also Section, I think it's 17 or 18, that speaks to the unequal treatment or discrimination, which these jackals keep doing over and over and over. And we talk to them and tell them about it. They keep putting SOEs to tread on people's rights. But when they're ready, they go and put SOE so that they could hustle from the Treasury, for Fidel Division. And all that's going on throughout the whole country is just one big hustle. Almost every government department you go into and try to get some services out of it. That was, in olden days, you would say, normally you go there, you ask for a service, and they would provide it to you because they're being paid to provide it. It's being mandated. That's the reason why those services are supposed to be provided to every citizen. Nowadays, it's all a racket going on there. The services are being suborned to whoever can come up with a mordida. And one of these days I might be tempted, because I'm trying to get them to sue me so I could bring out the material. But maybe one of these days I might just bad mistake, bring out some of them materials that I go and I do my survey and analysis and discover things and just throw it out there in public. Because the Prime Minister pretends that he don't know what's going on in the immigration department. Why then did he took it over if he didn't understand what was going on there and that there was something seriously wrong? I know that he have it under his portfolio control, in addition to all the other departments that he kept under his control. He's denying and pretending that everything is all right just because he have it under his ministry or under his personal control. The same crap is going on, and even worse, because the people that are running it are within the department itself. Besides the go to the lands department, for example. One prime minister classified it as a hotbed of corruption. This very Prime Minister used to be the head of that department. And I can recall in the past where I had to take away a computer from other employees who were being told to take it home to their property because they didn't need it anymore, when in fact the computer was loaded with information about scampishness that was going on. They wanted to disappear the computer. And I dared to take it back and carry it to the office because the young lady refused to carry it back herself. And one of the high officers them there at the place was so aggrieved that I dared to take that back there that she threatened me to say that I touched government property, therefore I could have been charged for having touched government property. Not that somebody should be charged for giving away government property that they had no permission to give away in the first place, and or for trying to abscond their criminal conduct. But because I knew what the hell was going on, and I decided to jump in the middle of the fray, I was the one being threatened. I went and I made a police report about the matter, just for good measure. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. These subjects that we're touching tonight are very salient and deserve maybe individual attention, maybe one show at a time, because we need to go in a little bit deeper in anything. People at Belize I don't think they really believe that what we say are true in the first place. It sounds too stupid, it sounds too crazy, it sounds not normal. So we need to get deeper into some of these things, and maybe, like I said, just out of badness, one of these days I might just throw some documents or some information out there to validate what is it that we're saying that people may have doubts about. And I hope that the ministers then could take the heat.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome, sir.
We are getting close to the end of our show, but I want to leave the Belizean people with this, and I hope that they will continue to be steadfast and continue to be the vanguard of Belize as we hold that per constitution. National security falls in the hands of the Belizean people, and that is protected by the Referendum Act. I think the Belizean people need to read the Referendum Act and what it says. It's the safeguard of our country.
Corruption is a vile disease that sucks and drains the health out of something good. Corruption in society is an evil moral infection that keeps community in a state of perpetual sickness. Corruption is a moral virus. It's so potent it leaves its host sick, lethargic, and unable to realize and accomplish all that a well person can. Where corruption thrives, poverty and not prosperity thrives. Wealth is grabbed into the greedy, grubby hands of those who get fat on the toil and labor of good people. Corruption benefits, only temporarily, those who participate in it. Government should be protecting us from the foul results of corruption instead of being the proponents and participants in corruption. When corruption is systemic, when it's a culture and a way of life, when corruption thrives, it destroys the health of the community and nation. Now let me tell you something. Defeating corruption is a very difficult thing. The love of money is the root of all evil, the Bible says. People who love money will do almost anything to get it. Those who choose to stand up against corruption, you need to know that we're going to be involved in a war. We will be threatened, vilified, intimidated, marginalized, and ridiculed. These kind of people who stand up against corruption will often feel alone, as if they are the problem instead of the solution. Corruption can only be defeated when enough people have had enough and decide to do something about it.
I go to you, Mr. Brackett, for your closing.
My closing is to implore, to supplicate, to beg Maybe, as a matter of fact, I think I should demand of Belizeans at home and abroad, please stop playing politics with patrimony. We have been divided and we are now being conquered by the very people that we know are our mortal enemy. The problem is that we're not fighting that enemy across the border. We're fighting that enemy inside of our border. And the treachery and treasonous conduct is at the highest level of our governance system. I'm not talking about a PUP. I'm not talking about a UDP. I'm talking about both of them because they are the two mass parties who have garnered enough votes, enough divisions to win the powers of governance of our country and have managed, well, I wouldn't even say that managed, have mismanaged, for emphasis, our affairs. And they have done so deliberately, consciously, and with a sense of malignant disdain towards us Belizeans, both at home and abroad. Because if the ones them abroad think that they're not at home, like what some of the Belizeans at home like to say, you who are abroad are not at home suffering the indignities that we have to suffer. I need to remind them, we suffer along with them because we are the one financing them, but we are the one providing them what the government is not providing them, the opportunity to at least have a living. So don't come to me and tell me no stupidness that I live abroad and I don't know what's going on at home, or I shouldn't be involved with what's going on at home when I'm the one busting my ass to find the money to finance what's going on at home. I am a concerned Belizean as well. And I'm the one that have to bust my butt to provide the funds to help all the people that I'm helping every time when I'm stretching my hand. So I have a right, born right as a born Belizean, constitutional right as per my constitution, God-given right, inalienable right, natural right, civil right. I have all the rights that are vested in any other Belizean. For all Belizeans are equal, regardless of what part of the world you today. But some Belizeans think themselves as being more equal, and therefore they are the only one that should have anything to say or do about the Belizean patrimony and problems. And I beg to differ. But I won't fight my Belizean people on those fronts, at least not yet. There was a time when I was deciding to hell with the whole thing, and maybe I should just start look after my own retirement and look after myself and other people who maybe really seriously need help, rather than just enabling some of those who just take our effort for granted and take us for fools. Because according to some of them, we must be a bunch of fools to just be financing something that we have nothing to gain from. What I have to gain is my sense of solace, satisfaction, to know that I help to try and make a difference. That's good enough for me. I don't need a penny back. I don't need no praises back. I don't even need one thank you back because I didn't get that from someone else. But that's not why I do what I do. I do it because deep down in my heart, I know where I came from. I know how I got to where I'm at today. And I know that not everybody have been given that opportunity or privilege. I happen to have been lucky enough to have been given that opportunity and privilege. Therefore, I would not, or at least I don't hope to walk away, because I'm a blood-sworn vanguard of my country till death. At least that's the way I perceive it as of today still, and would like to be able to know that it will be like that for the rest of my life. But that doesn't take away the hurt that I feel when I talk to some of my own Belizean people who apparently are disinterested, indifferent about what's going on with the other brothers and sisters at home. It's also happening to some of your brothers and sisters abroad, because not everybody that comes to the States have a ready-made job or an opportunity waiting for them. Some of them suffer for days and weeks and months. In fact, some of them have been here for years. They work and retire, and in their retirement, they are suffering the indignities of not having enough funds to support their retirement, because in the beginning, they were sending all their money back home to take care of their family members and friends. Now they're out here suffering. Some of them are on the streets. Some of them have been kicked out of their apartments because they can't afford it anymore. Belizeans at home, figure out what's happening with your Belizeans abroad and stop playing the fool and work together to try and make our patrimony better. Don't have these gangsters subdivide us and play rough shadow over us by subordinating us with a little help because they know that we're in need. They keep you in need so they can use you and abuse you and misuse you. And then for the next 5 years, they have no need for you. In fact, Mr. Wade was told by one area representative that very soon they will have no need for the Creole Belizeans anymore, which is why they are importing so many of the other people from Guatemala and other places. Now the Constitution says that the government has the authority to decide who they give citizens to and who they give alien registration and things to. But it specifically tells them that they have no rights and no authority vested in them to do what these jackals and hyenas are doing, which is to facilitate the Guatemalans them coming into the country and taking over the country without having to fight or fire one bullet. Because that is what they're after. Our patrimony. And our leaders are taking a few dollars here and there from different organizations to sell us out lock, stock, and barrel. And I resent that very much. As a matter of fact, I've gone over the time, and I abused my privilege. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll leave the rest of my rant for some other day.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. With that said, I would like to say good night to the people at home and abroad. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you tune in again on Wednesday as we again come to you with Belizean Affair. Have a great night and season greetings to one and all.
We want everybody. We want everybody.